the enlightenment chasers. Royalties of peace. We are still in the storms. Back to peace that has no storm. Holding on to perfect peace. Yes, no matter what may be happening, we must hold our ground of what intervention we are enabling. While on this journey to the eternity perfect, the mind battlefield free, we must reach of none left behind. This is the 15th episode of the Golden Age by Maris Free Lefang, February 19th of 2025. It is a Wednesday, my water day. Must I please bring to us this refreshing of the mind, while at this time of complexity of the mind, no matter the chaos, we must be able to hold the end goal. The solution to the problem is the core. For without the solution, there cannot be a problem. The problem is generated from the solution. What am I saying? The problem is only an affirmation of the solution, impossible to be disrupted. While we are navigating through this time of the journey, must we reach the destination, our origin? It is not new to us, but rather the problem should be new to us, but impossible because we have been through this road for a while. This is not the first presidency or administration of the United States of America. Even in our own individualized home, we experienced conflicts that we need to resolve between parents, siblings, relatives. We all understand that we all always have something to worry about. Might be easy to solve. Some just take a longer time, which is why we always enable the short-term goals and the long-term goals. It might have come to our awareness that in this administration there has been so much disruption that has not been experienced like in the days of the civil rights and civil wars. A long time of silence, such that just a little shake of the ground, it will begin to feel like we can all just go down. How we express how we feel right now is because of the past. We have heard of stories in the past which we don't want them to repeat themselves. Going through the news today, trying to gather information of how we, the people, are reacting towards the administration of present time, the commencement of the golden age, how it is being approached. What is the curiosity of the people? Is it positive or negative? Negative can never be real, but only a daydreaming or a nightmare that we all can only individually awaken out of it without the other. But no one can know if you are having a nightmare or not until you awaken and tell your story. The White House contradicting the president is not new to us. When we, the people, contradict ourselves, we hardly can really relate with our own individual selves, only still in training to understand who we are of an individual being. We make mistakes and correct ourselves, but we do not want drastic mistakes or mistakes that are prolonged into chaos. How do we resolve the government of the United States of America, which I always want to pave it in my mind to its expectation, the capital of the multicultural world? Some may not be in agreement to it, claiming that the United States of America has always put itself of a white supremacy, where no other race can speak out except of a white race, detecting to all other cultures in the world and nations in the world what should be done and what should not be done without consideration. Watching the news and learning about supremacist far right or white supremacist far right extremist named Sir Anders Breivik in the Norway, who, well, they say he killed, but we understand that he commanded the killing of 77 people in Norway. Also, a kids camp healing the same day. It is said that this is a modern mass murder, indicating that he was not a primitive man nor an uneducated individual. We are not animals in the sense that we are higher minds. Humans are higher minds and not animals. Animals are primitive creatures that cannot attain a higher state of intelligence. When we put ourselves in the kingdom animalia, it defeats our expectation being humans. There are very close relations with some animals and plants in the ocean. It is not about what you look like, it's about your mind. And humans are a very specific and unique kind of a being. When we look back in the past of the complications we have had, of complicated war orders, these are only owing to a long term unsolved problems, which is why thinking out loud is so recommended. And how we address what is being thought out loud matters. For no one is primitive, even when what is said may seem silly or fictional. It is very important to enable a lesson. It seems like we are beginning to wonder how much power should the president really have over the nation? Or is it time for us to terminate the executive branch and let the legislative and judiciary take control? There is no branch that does not have its weakness, no individual without a weakness. So many complaints have been going on with the presidency of this time. The firing of workers that has led to some mismanagement and the bird flu and unexpected malfunctions. Might not be expressed the way it would be if the president was a soft or gentle president and we have the bird flu or other malfunctions. It might be because there is need for recruitment of readjustment and shifts. But in this case, it's more of like the president is the one trying to make shifts and things are happening. Or might have been that technically they might have enabled mismanagement and trying to fix it owing to errors that are happening. Whatever the circumstance that we are facing right now, what we really want to emphasize is the need for reliability, self reliability. I learned that some leaders are even preferring to quit their jobs than having to deal with this presidency. In some cases, might not be the best idea, but in some cases, may be understandable. Just the fear of not being one of those experiencing destruction happening without being able to be in control. Many, some are expressing about those under this presidency have no choice but to follow the president's order, executive orders. Like the Congress has no power. Like this presidency is really becoming overboard with control that is affecting people complicatedly. I looked at leadership management of people It is very obvious that you always need flexibility when it comes to managing people because we are not just a people, but people with their own points of view and weaknesses. Some are asymptomatic to their own problems, while others are symptomatic. And those that are symptomatic are very dangerous because it's very hard to correct them and or help them to to correct themselves. No one corrects you, but you can correct yourself. Like I said in the last episode, that if you take a horse to the stream, you cannot force it to drink. Only it can drink its water. And no matter how long it cries thirst, you can only keep on encouraging. But in this case, we have the young generation who are so prior to our very existence. Because it is by our own reason that they are here. They did not come here on their own. We made them to come here. And we are responsible in making sure that they are taken care of and reach integrity of expected. Coming to our senses requires reviewing leadership and management. The cohesive leadership requiring immediate compliance. The authoritative mobilizing people via visioning. Pace setting leadership, expecting excellence and self direction. Affiliative leadership centers around building emotional bonds. Democratic leadership involves creating consensus, and coaching leadership, developing people for the future. We are supposed to be coaching the future, but rather we are faced with our own weaknesses. We are not efficient coaches. Okay, some are blaming it on those who elected the president. The majority of the votes. Are there any regrets? Is it about the president or about what is going on? Interestingly, today, I heard from a source that it is not really about the president, but who is feeding the president with information of racial supremacy, the white supremacy. Order. It seems like there's an investigation going on who is feeding the president with white supremacy philosophy, enabling the domination by the exclusion and detriment of other races and ethnic groups like blacks, Jews, and others. Is this what is really going on? According to my point of view, may not be what others are experiencing. I'm beginning to realize that we, the people, are first of all needing to first of all consider our weaknesses. That is first of all destroying the purpose of America in general. Before we even look at the United States of America alone, America has been so much disrupted by us, the people of the United States of America. Not because it's our fault, but because we were chosen by our forefathers and placed in a place where we need to shine light. But being the coaches, we are not coaching of expected because we do not really understand the purpose of our forefathers is demoralizing. the expectation of the United States of America being the light of the world. Enlightenment chasers. If you find yourself today in the United States of America, or even one diaspora, the diasporas of the United States of America, all over the world, a calling is not just to follow, but to be active. And active takes the understanding of your purpose. If it is undefined, we find ourselves in a situation like this today. Not blaming the president, not blaming the Congress, but we the people needing to reconsider. Before we point a finger at a man, the rest of the fingers are pointing back at the women. Because it is a woman that biologically births a child. It's unfortunate that when you point a finger at the man, you're pointing the finger at the mother. And it goes on and on. A man can never be blamed. The blame always ends with the woman. And unfortunately, the woman is always the subordinate of the man. And why? Because the woman is responsible of the man being where they are. It is the woman's pride to stand for the right. If we stand for the right and then the opposite is happening, then we can have a voice. But when we are in support of what is not right, then we have the blame. Where can we complain when we are victims? When we are responsible? How can I call for help when I am the criminal? March is the month of women, the Women's Month. Women are really called all over the world. When we begin to experience things like this, it is the call for women to stand their ground. Women rule the world, but the men control the world. It is only possible where there is a fault on the woman. We are on a journey, not trying to make an extended stay. What does that mean to us? Taking power, taking high seats, being women. We cannot have one left behind. Like one of the leaders said, injustice in one place is injustice for all. It starts like a seed to grow into a tree. What is injustice here? The young generation watching us, enabling chaos. Is it the president enabling chaos, or has it been an underlying problem only surfacing? Is it the president that is enabling the problem, or is it an underlying problem surfacing? Should we wait to leave the world and experience the children suffer our weaknesses, or do we want to solve it now? It's time for us to really understand what governing is. Our purpose is to reach enlightenment, not to fill the earth. We're not trying to popularize the earth, but to become of enlightenment expected. Quantity is the expansion, is the expanding ground for every single one to have facilitation to walk with quality. Quality life takes quantity. You need to be able to maneuver, not being stuck trying to reach your end goal. Humans are in charge of the world. White supremacy is not just the race, but the enlightenment of the mind, which we all have. But when one stays dormant, what do you expect the other to become? Dominant. And the one in dominion can only be enlightenment for the other to recover and equalize. Equality for each other takes an awakening, an awareness of a weakness, seeking wellness. Maybe a long term of asymptomatic does not deprive us from reaching the equality that we need. Healing can only happen how we handle the problem. When someone is expressing pain, we need to be able to have therapeutic communication. When the president is complaining, we need to figure out how to enable a coolant, not trying to make more provocation and then blame it on the one crying. When a baby is crying, you don't provoke the baby. You try to find a means to have a place where you can walk eye level to comprehension. We are trying to heal, not trying to destroy. Talking about the ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing, removing people from a land can be very, very detriment because it destroys your identity, yourself. This is like the asymptomatic that the nomads have been going through. Our ancestors who have been traveling, migrating, have the asymptomatic diagnosis of identity, relation, the crisis of identity relation. When you stay long away, coming back to your own people is like coming to another new land, not being able to relate with each other. Every stage of our being, when you clock 5, you are not that 2 months old. When you clock 12, identity confusion, role confusion is not just only at the age of 12, but continues. Every new is like confusion. You have to relearn every stage that you come into. What others have experienced, you may experience it, but in a little different strategy approach, with a different strategy approach. It's time for us to really reconsider the era in which we live in with smarter techniques. What is smart? Smart is what brings good. It is not smartness to breast pump. It is rather hard work. The smartness is the child taking time to suck on the milk pumped, to come to their senses that I'm not supposed to even eat from a mammalia gland, but rather eating plants even eating plants is a struggle and needing to evacuate these premises of complication. Complication only means a place of learning, of pondering of the mind. It only becomes complicated when we extend the stay. It is supposed to be a learning ground and not what to keep for tradition or become habitated. It's not a habitat to keep. It's not to become an adaptive place to live in, but rather a place to learn and return to the expected of the mind. While we are going through politics, let us understand politics is spirituality. Humanity is spirituality. Whatever humans are doing is spirituality. And spirituality is divinity, and divinity is eternity. Eternity is perfect peace. Our journey from the place of storm, of brainstorming, should not be complicated. Let us heal from the extending, prolongation of time. All the pressures we are feeling of the earth, fires, and all this, the firing of guns is because of the prolongation, the increase of population, extending our stay. Every time we are reaching the end stages, we make another new against the expectation of our forefathers. We are supposed to be ascending and no one descending. If they made a mistake, we learn from the mistakes and make lessons, and the lessons become blessings. Not a tradition, but reaching reasoning. For they have reached so many reasoning, and we have received this reasoning a blessing. Must we be able to complete the rest of the reasoning we need to achieve? Constitution is a care plan, must be worked with effectively. It wouldn't have been this hard if we had started gracefully. It is not only by one president to begin to emphasize the need to work efficiently with quality. It's not about people looking for jobs, but rather people retiring from jobs, needing to retire early, meaning work already done. What people will take 60 years to complete, if you completed it in 5 years, what a celebration of 55 years. We must not work hard. It's time we begin to comprehend what is trying to come to us from our ancestors. The tree has reached its fullness of blossoming. It's no longer a seed, but we must be able to help each other adapt to the perfection of our being without experiencing disruptions. When we have babies, we cannot be transforming into air. We should be able to be humans of expected, for the young to heal of expected. I hope this message of this episode helps us to reflect while we journey this road. Losing your identity is like killing self. It's like being killed. The ethnic cleansing of Gaza is like killing the Palestinians. Killing their identity is like destroying them. We need not gun massacre. We need not making complicated griefs. It's time to cease fire, and ceasefire will take some movements which are healthier than any other, but it must be of mutual love. And healing of wellness without discrimination. Leading on to the next president who is preparing self to clock in after a few years to really be able to not poison self with all the complications, but rather enable a strategy that will appease and not demoralize the healing that we're trying to achieve from our yesterday mistakes. For the young really need us to accomplish health and wealth, not just health or not just wealth, but both. Thank you all for listening. Peace stills the storm, back to peace that has no storm, while looking on to perfect peace. Please comment and let us meditate and think together and help each other learn or relearn what should be established so we do not conflict each other. Thank you.